Of course, the Apple stock price has had a great run over the years, but this year it's perhaps been a little bit flat. We haven't seen that much change since the latest earnings came out. So is there more to come? Or actually, are we finally seeing Apple reaching a peak? I thought it'd be interesting to do an update on Apple with their earnings coming in at the end of July. We had the latest earnings towards the end of April. And we saw the share price over the next couple of weeks under some pressure. It's bounced back since then. But for the year to date, it's pretty flat. It ended 2020 around $132 a share. At the time of recording, it's 133 and a bit. So I thought, well, let's take a look at it in a bit more detail. Let's review some of the recent news and then come back onto the trading platform and look at the charts in a bit more depth to see if things are going to get interesting again for Apple going into the latest earnings. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd take a look and an update on what's been happening with the Apple stock. We had earnings back in April. Latest earnings are expected towards the end of July, so I thought let's catch up with the recent news and then look at the levels and then take a look on the platform and see what the charts look like. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel. It means we can continue to push out lots of content during the week on the various stocks that we look at. But let's get into it. Let's take a look at Apple in a bit more detail. So just in case you've been living under a rock over the last 40 years, they were founded in 1976, and it's a US multinational tech company, best known, of course, I think, for the Apple iPhone. It's the largest US stock by market capitalization, a value of $2.2 trillion at the time of recording, which makes it also, not surprisingly, one of the biggest companies in the world. The latest earnings for Apple came out in April, and they were good numbers. Sales were up 54%, earnings smashed through expectations, coming in at $1.40 versus around 99 cents expected. So a good set of earnings, but not that much change really since those earnings came out. We'll take a look at that on the chart in a second. We did see all-time highs for the stock in January of this year. Of course, the trend for Apple has been up for some years now. So all-time highs set in January, but a fairly boring, I think, performance since then. And again, at the time of recording, the stock price is broadly unchanged for the year to date, up 1 or 2%. So what happens next? Will these earnings towards the end of July be the catalyst that sparks a bit more momentum into the stock price and pushes it out to all-time highs again, or are we going to see a disappointing reaction? We'll take a look at the technicals in a minute. Before we do that, let's talk about the levels to watch. I think the immediate hurdle on the upside is the earnings just after, the high set just after the earnings, around $137 a share. Perhaps if we can break through there, we'll see some fresh momentum come into the stock price. The most immediate low, if we saw the stock of Apple under pressure, is for me, it's the May low coming in around $122. But as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's jump onto the charts and take a look at the trend and the technicals in a bit more detail. Like many tech stocks, Apple has had a great run since the March 2020 lows, where we saw markets really under pressure because of the first spread of the coronavirus. The Apple stock price trading down near $50 a share, so it's more than doubled and a bit more since then to where we're trading now. But the price has been, as I said, pretty flat for the year so far. Let's just put a moving average on. Not surprising, for the year to date, we're seeing the moving average and the price fairly close together on numerous occasions because we have seen the price move sideways. But it's not done too bad a job of catching the swings. Ahead of the earnings last time round, we had a buy signal in late March as the moving average, or the share price, moved above the moving average, fell below it again in early May. And then the latest signal we had for Apple, beginning of June, first week of June, second week of June, we saw the price move through $125 a share. That's where the 20-day moving average is, and the price has moved higher since then. That moving average at the moment is coming in, as you can see, around $127.50. So the moving average is bullish, but the price action, which we'll come back to in a minute, is still pretty sideways. Looking at the RSI down here, I've got a 10-day RSI, classic overbought, oversold indicator. And because the market has been trading sideways, oscillators such as this do work better in sideways moving markets. So we had a sell signal back in January, a buy signal late Feb, sell signal in April, which was a little bit too early, very briefly a buy signal in May. And at the moment, the RSI is nudging towards overbought. So it could be a suggestion, if we're going to follow the RSI, that perhaps in the short term at least, the stock has got a little bit overheated and perhaps we're overdue a slide in the price. We'll see what happens and see if it does pull back to where it was in early June, around $120, $123 a share. But if we focus on the price action, I think we got some definite levels to watch for Apple. The first hurdle for me, it's the earnings high at the end of April. So the price pushed up towards $138, $139 a share. So I think if we break that, then perhaps we have enough momentum to go and challenge, I think, the big hurdle, those all-time highs, up around $145 a share. And if we did see them break through 145, perhaps we can start thinking about much more aggressive targets on the upside. On the downside, clearly lots of support over recent months. Big support down ahead of 115, down at 116 a share from early March. After that, this sort of 120 area was pretty important. The low it hit after the earnings in May. So it has been a bit of a boring few months for the Apple stock price. If we were going to see it come under pressure, as this RSI is suggesting, I'd be watching this 115, 120 area for signs of a bounce. It'd be interesting to see the reaction when the earnings come out, whether we can take out, if it hasn't already, some of these previous highs. So it's still clearly broadly positive, Apple. That longer term trend most definitely still up. It's just been a little bit flat, particularly over the last few months. And I think we have some hurdles to clear. The first being the April high, if we're going to see this one pick up some momentum once again. That's it for the update on Apple. We'll come back to it after the earnings and see how it's performed. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your investing. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.